Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. And today I'm going to talk to you about something that you probably haven't thought about. And it took me about 30 seconds to think about this thing that you probably haven't thought about. The thing I'm going to talk about today is pre-exhaustion, the pre-exhaustion principle, which I've talked about lots of times before, but I'm going to add a twist to this, okay? The pre-exhaustion principle using machines. Now, I know that seems like a contradiction because machines don't get tired. I am a machine. I am impervious to exhaustion. The only thing that really exhausts me is stupid humans that make dumb comments on YouTube. So the reason why I'm talking about this is that when you use a machine, because you're not using the stabilizer muscles as much, there's a very good chance that your stabilizers are going to be very refreshed, but your prime movers are going to be exhausted, which is the whole point of pre-exhaustion. So if you're doing a specific movement, say for chest or for back or for shoulders or whatever it might be, and you are absolutely totally annihilating that prime muscle, that major mover, that prime mover, whatever you want to call it, and then you move on to a free weight type of movement, your prime mover is going to be totally exhausted, and you're going to be accentuating the level of exhaustion that your prime mover can get, right? Because those stabilizer muscles, or the rotator cuff muscles or whatever, aren't going to be getting in the way of the exhaustion of the prime mover. So the nice part is that you're still getting some stabilizer work, you're still getting some balance work using the free weights, but you're making sure that your prime movers are hitting absolute exhaustion. So that's a great technique. I think that's pretty genius. Using free weights isn't always a good thing. Using a machine sometimes is good because free weights are called free for a reason. Look at these free weights. These weights are free in nature, in their natural habitat. Don't you care about the freedom of your weights? Go forth, my pretties. Go forth. Live free. Save the whales, screw them. Save the weights, man. Mountain. Try it out. One example could be like machine bench press, and then going on to normal bench press or normal dumbbell press or whatever it might be, or say machine flies or something, and then you're using even a partial range, which is what I'm going to get to at some point in the future. I'll talk to you about that. Actually, how about right now? Maybe I'll talk about it right now. The other thing that people don't think about is isolation exercises, but partial isolation exercises. So for instance, say you're doing a fly, right? Say you're doing a machine fly or you're doing a dumbbell fly. You may notice that even though you're doing an isolation movement, meaning the movement is taking place around one joint, there can be multiple muscles involved, right? Although it's technically an isolation. So say you're doing a fly, you are getting some front delt work along with some chest work there. So because of that, you may find that your delts are hitting failure first before your chest, or something like that is going on, and your main goal is to hit the chest, right? So what do you do in that case? Well, you find a way to possibly do the motion differently, and one way to do it differently is to use partial reps. Now, one way that I've done this is with the cable flies. I find with cable flies, even if I bring the fly all the way back, I still hit a lot of the delt. And one way I can offset that is by using partial ranges and adjusting my own body position to make sure that the forces are moving outwards. So that way I'm just getting all my tension from here to here. That's where most of my tension is. So therefore I'm hitting the chest 100%, and I'm hitting the least amount of delt in that movement. Now, that's the way it works for my body type. It might be a little bit different for you, but feel free to experiment with your isolation movements. And sometimes using partial reps during isolations will assist you with hitting the muscle that you want to hit even more so. Because yeah, isolation is supposed to be you just hitting one muscle group, but unfortunately some other muscles do come into play even though you're using a movement that just is including one joint. Now, another prime example of this would be, say, preacher curls. And if you're coming too far down, not only are you putting more stress on the elbows, but you may be involving the brachialis muscle instead of the brachii. And maybe you want to hit the brachii more. And you notice that there's a certain part of the movement where the brachii gets hit the most. And then once you go past a certain part of that movement, then it's all the brachialis, right? And the opposite is also true. Maybe you just want to hit all the brachialis. So you're just doing the extended part of the movement and you want to make sure that hits absolute failure because you feel that's your weak link. So then from there, you would just do the last 2 or 3 inches of the movement up and down and then see what type of burn or muscle exhaustion you get. So these are a couple awesome tips that you can employ in your training. I think you should be thanking me very much for it. The waves are lapping against the shore and that's almost the same as clapping, so it's like applause. So yeah, I hope these 2 tips help you out. I hope they kind of help you get your mind out of the box, out of the bodybuilding fanatical kind of crazy stupid thinking box, and you start to make some gains and start to become an independent thinker instead of like one of those robots that just like, I must do whatever I read on the internet. My own experience means nothing. I don't care what my body's telling me. Who gives a shit? Somebody on the internet wrote something. I should follow that blindly. I am just a robot. Wake the hell up, man. You don't have to be a robot. Just experiment with some stuff I'm saying and see what works. Mountain, lake, tree, stump.